Hello, and welcome to an eerily spooky stream. I'm gonna wait a little bit to see who decides to come around. I know what you're thinking. Reservoir sedimentation causes, effects, and mitigation. How could that be scary? Welcome, Wildbreaker, to the stream. I've listed everything that I'm reading tonight in the description. If you're new, make sure that you like, you comment, you subscribe, and let's get into this spooky dooky endeavor. How are you today, Wildbreaker? Let's get into why are we reading? Reading is good for the mind, for the soul. Read or else you watch 50 Shades Tied Up. Oh, baby. I'm glad that you're doing well. Our first story tonight: reservoir sedimentation, causes, effects, and mitigation. Don't worry, I've got a whole bunch of stuff for reading. I know this one seems a little dry, but bear with me. We're gonna learn. Yes, I have a bunch of the SCP stuff in here. If you guys have any requests, it doesn't have to be SCP. The thing that I have to stress here is that I can't run into something that's like copyrighted. Like, I would love to read something that's super popular, but I can't unless it's like if it's like a fan fiction thing, creepypasta, whatever, those are fine. But anything that's like a published book that isn't like in public domain, I can't read it on stream. But without further ado, the world's reservoirs are used for many purposes. Among them are to provide reliable water supply, hydropower and flood mitigation. Sustainable hydropower requires dealing with the important issue of reservoir sedimentation. Sedimentation is a process whereby soil particles are eroded and transported by flowing water or other transporting media and deposited as layers of solid particles in water bodies such as reservoirs and rivers. Reservoir sedimentation, therefore, is filling of the reservoir behind a dam with sediment carried into the reservoir by streams. Find a story based on the SCP of a pornographic sequel to Star Trek: The Next Generation. Cool. Yeah, so if you have SCP stuff you want me to read, that's fine. Anyway, this paper therefore describes sedimentation processes, identifies key causes, effects, and mitigations of sedimentation on reservoir facilities, and presents techniques that can be used to address these. Generally, soil erosion is the major cause of reservoir sedimentation, and subsequent sedimentation of reservoirs is a complex process dependent upon a number of natural and anthropogenic factors. The causes are classified into two with respect to the factors, namely natural causes and anthropogenic causes. Sedimentations can affect hydropower production due to loss of reservoir storage and or damage to the facility's mechanical components. Sediments deposited in reservoirs may affect the safety of dams and, without proper management, negatively impact the environment. Methods of managing I guess this is how I'm going to read it. I'm just going to have my hands out like this. SCP-034 deserves love. Okay. Sediments deposited in reservoirs may affect the safety of dams and without impact the environment. Methods of managing sediment fall under three categories: those that divert sediment around or through the reservoir, those that remove deposited sediments and those that minimize the amount of sediment reaching the facility in the first place. A variety of sediment management strategies have been used around the world, with many successful implementations documented. The paper highlights the need for appropriate sediment management at hydropower facilities and shows how this can be achieved through consideration of sediment concerns from the earliest design phase through to construction and operation. In order to curb erosion and sedimentation in rivers and reservoirs, there is need to develop and implement an integrated water resources management plan by all stakeholders. Are you doing SC? I can. Yeah. Yeah, I can look them up. I'll add them to the list. Here, let me add those. Let me go find those real quick. This one was requested by a random guy. This document. I don't know why, but we're doing it. Oh wait, no, I do have 682. Okay. All right. Anyway, I will get back to the reading that we are doing. Sedimentation is a process whereby soil particles are eroded and transported by flowing water or other transporting media and deposited as layers of solid particles in water bodies such as reservoirs and rivers. It is a complex process that varies with watershed sediment yield, rate of transportation, and mode of deposition. Sediment deposition reduces the storage capacity and lifespan of reservoirs as well as river flows. Also, welcome to the stream, Sonic Insane. Thank you guys for being here. Don't worry, I'm going to read every story tonight. I'll stay up all night if I have to. Sedimentation continues to be one of the most important threats to river ecosystems around the world. A study was done on the world's 145 major rivers with consistency long-term sediment records, and the results show that about 50% of the rivers have statistically a significantly downward flow trend due to sedimentation. Sumi and Hyros reported that the global reservoir gross storage capacity is about 6,000 kilometers cubed, and annual reservoir sedimentation rates are about 31 kilometers cubed. This suggests that at this sedimentation rate, the global reservoir storage capacity will be reduced to 50% by year 2100. Reservoir sedimentation, therefore, is filling up the reservoir behind a dam with sediment carried into the reservoir by streams. The flow of water from the catchment upstream of a reservoir is capable of eroding the catchment area and of depositing material either upstream of the reservoir or in the still water of the reservoir. The nature of the material is in the catchment area, and the slope of the catchment area and the inlet streams are a factor, as is in nature of the ground cover. The deposition The deposition of sediment will automatically reduce the water storing capacity of the reservoir, and if the process of deposition continues longer, a stage is likely to reach when the whole reservoir may get silted up and become useless. Moreover, with the passage of time, the reservoir capacity will go on reducing. For instance, at the time of construction, a reservoir can store 10,000 cubic meters of water, and in 5-year time, it may be able to store only 8,000 cubic meters of water. Therefore, in order to see that the capacity does not fall short of requirement ever during the design period, we must consider silting. The total volume of silt likely to be deposited during the designed life period of dam is therefore estimated, and approximately that much of volume is left unused. To allow for silting and is known as dead storage. The remainder is known as effective storage or the live storage. Dead storage generally varies between 15 to 25% of the total capacity. All the outlets fetching water from the reservoir are provided above the dead storage level. The importance of stilting can be understood by considering the following example. Let the total capacity of a reservoir be 30 million cubic meters, and the provision of the dead storage be 6 million cubic meters. Let the average volume of the sediment deposition of 0.15 million cubic meters per year, then it is evident that the dead storage will be filled up, and 6 divided by 0.15 equal 40 years. And the total storage in about 30/0.15 equals 200 years. Therefore, the usefulness of the reservoir would start reducing after 40 years, and after 200 years, it'd be nothing but collection of sand and sediment with no water in it. There's 19 pages of this, so I'm gonna come back to here's what this looks like. Wow, I'm learning. All right, let's do our first story. We got the SD locks proposal. Let's see, I'm trying out Evanescent Shadow Sonic is good. I feel like I've heard of that. Is this just a geology report? Yeah, basically. All right. Now we get into the real stories. Let's do this. Here, let me... This is going to be a little blinding because all of these things are... I'm going to read them in number order. All right. SD Lock's proposal. You find the access tunnel, hidden with a natural cave a mile off the main road. You don't need the keycard. The door is ajar. It smells here. It smells like them. Hopefully, they've moved on. You've come so far already. You can't turn back now. There is a slick trail that leads from the cave entrance and into the depths of the site. If it's blood or shit, or something that's smeared off one of those things, you cannot tell. You make a point to avoid it. You're still receiving the distress signal. It only started broadcasting yesterday. Whoever it is, you pray they're still alive. Your footsteps echo throughout empty corridors. Each footfall sounds for all the world like a dozen. As if you're not treading through the dark alone. Elevator is down, so you take the stairs ending on floor B5, Keter Holding. You pass several empty containment chambers. The horrors they once held are long gone, if you're lucky. The trail takes you to an office branching off the main hall, the source of the signal. The door is cracked open, but stuck. You plant your feet, push with all your might. Something skitters out of one of the rooms to your left and around the corner before you can get a good look at it. Your first thought is, dog. It was on the ceiling, though. You take refuge in the room, slam the door behind you. It's dark here. You're safe. You take off your jacket and head wrap. It'd be a damn shame to die from something like hypothermia after all that's happened. The sole operating emergency light rotates in its casing, casting a pale orange glow across the room every other second, as if the room itself had a pulse. There's shelving haphazardly placed behind the door, a barricade. You scan the room. Soiled clothes, half-eaten food. Despite the presence of an adjoining restroom, there is excrement in a bucket in the corner. A pneumatic chamber on the northern wall would have been delivering consumables to the occupant. The trail terminates in the corner of the room. The trail terminates in the corner of the room, forming a sick puddle. You spot 3 pharmacy bottles. Further inspection reveals them to be various opioids. They're all empty. There's a desk with a computer atop. Approaching the terminal, you can clearly see the blinking light of the power button. You take a seat, turn it on. Emergency protocol activated, clearance level safeguards removed, full access granted, secure, contain, protect. Loading. 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 You hear footsteps just outside the door. Every first step comes down heavy. The second drags behind it. Loading. 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 Authenticating. A dark shape blots out the light, streaming in through the slit between the floor and the doorway. Authenticating. Authenticating. You tense up, waiting with bated breath, praying it will pass. You damn the deafening thump of your heart for betraying your position. Please wait. Please wait. Please wait. The shadow recedes. You breathe a sigh of relief just as the screen comes to life. Opening file. Automated Secure System Notification Code 235-ASSN235. There has been an error in retrieving the current iteration of the SCP-001 file. You are currently viewing revision number 3. New revisions can be accessed at the bottom of this page. Special Containment Procedures. Due to its nature, SCP-001 cannot be contained. Survivors of the SCP-001 event stationed within secure facilities are to remain in contact with one another. Personnel are encouraged to attempt to reach Site-19 by any means at their disposal. Personnel with knowledge as to the whereabouts of the 05 Council are to relay this information to the Administrator. Survivors attempting to travel outdoors must fully cover their bodies in protective clothing, preferably several layers. Travel by foot should be limited as much as possible. Cities and man-made structures in general provide the greatest protection. Formally, wooded areas should be circumvented. Travel by air is preferable above all other methods. Personnel exposed to SCP-001 are to be considered lost. Compromised personnel are to be abandoned. Euthanization is not to be attempted. Collective instances of SCP-001-A that are of formidable size are to be avoided at all costs. Conductive electrical weapons have proven partially effective at immobilizing instances and may be used for self-defense. Incendiary weapons work as well. Cryonic munitions are the most effective thus far. Testing has revealed that SCP-001-A is relatively safe to consume. This is only to be considered as a last resort in the absence of other options, as SCP-001-A may reconstitute within the digestive system. Only small portions should be consumed at a time to prevent blockage. Personnel stationed at Site-19 are to pursue research concerning off-world colonization. Shuttles must be constructed as to not allow light to penetrate the interior. To those of you with families, or God forbid children, I'm deeply, deeply sorry you must push on. Do not let their deaths be in vain. We do still have time. Humanity may still have a future. Come to Site-19. We need all the hands we can get. Learn to embrace the darkness, friends. Fear the light. SCP-001 is the designation given to the Sun after an event on system error data lost EC-172 contact sysadmin, resulting in 6.8 billion casualties within the first 24 hours. This event has been categorized as an XK Delta class solar singularity scenario. The SCP-001 effect does not seem to result from exposure to ultraviolet rays, but rather light in the visual spectrum. 390 to 700 nm. The effect is similarly present in moonlight. Upon contact with visible light produced by the sun, living organisms liquefy at the point of contact, with the effect spreading until the entire organism is converted visually. This is very reminiscent of melting wax. The time this takes is largely dependent on the level exposure and size of the organism. Despite this restructuring, at no point do living organisms perish. Upon completion, these organisms, SCP-001-A, take on a gelatinous consistency. Motile organisms will attempt to orient themselves in a fashion reminiscent of their previous form, to varying degrees of success. Flora typically remain physically inert, yet are still capable of photosynthesis, and still produce oxygen. Organisms capable of flight lose the capability to do so. Fauna remain sentient and display behavior that parallels their non-animalous counterparts. When not absorbed into a collective instance, humans retain a modicum of sapience and memory. Biological anomalies exposed to SCP-001 are affected in the same manner. It seems that exposure nullifies any previously expressed anomalous characteristics. Due to their composition, instances of SCP-001-A that make contact with one another may combine and blend at the molecular level. This does not seem to cause pain or distress to the instances, though the resulting bulk can inhibit movement. Since the SCP-001 event, most instances have congregated into such collectives which seem to possess no maximum volume. The resulting biomass is amorphous and chaotic. The component organisms will shift between a full to semi-liquid state. Limbs and bodies will rise periodically from within the mass for a short duration, before deteriorating and being subsumed by another life form. Hello, Glitchy McVirus. We're reading today. I'm reading short stories. It looks like I'm reading mainly just SCP stuff to you guys. I thought I'd give it a try. So, yeah. Collective instances will locomote by using their appendages in tandem to carry their mass. Larger instances will form a pseudopod from their constituent life forms and drag themselves about in a manner similar to amoeba. Open attached file audio log. Access granted. A harsh static lashes out of the speakers when you open the file. It disturbs the stillness of the room, catches you off guard, and quickens your heart's pace. There's some handling noise as the recorder adjusts their microphone. A brief moment of silence passes and then... This is the Dr. Logan Igata level 3 researcher. There's a quiver in his voice. There's a quiver in her voice that betrays her attempts at professionalism. She pauses, takes a deep breath, and continues. Bold enough to show off your reading level publicly, I see. It's 05, not 05. It looks like a 0. I don't know what that part was. Due to Site-46's possession of several communicable info hazards, we have been cut off from the rest of the network under blackout protocol. As such, I'll be updating this as we come across new information. On the bright side, we are actually still receiving transmissions from a few sites. A good number of personnel have made it seems. Some are planning to make a break for 19, some are trying to fight for the dash, as some, like us, are simply biding their time. Our site is sealed for the time being. We're not ready for the journey, at least not yet. She sighs. We experienced a containment breach a few days ago. One of the higher maintenance humanoids broke loose. Son of a bitch compromised containment on half half a dozen Keters and ran off. They didn't make it more than 5 feet from the tunnels before collapsing in a soup. I watched it play out on the cams. It didn't take long for them to get back up. She stops again, mutters to herself incomprehensibly, before you hear the unmistakable sound of a match strike. She exhales audibly. Much better. Not exactly a designated smoke area, but what the hell, right? She clears her throat. Commander Anna suited up and went to town on them the next day, tried to drive them off. It didn't turn out very well, poor bastard, but we did learn a thing or two at least. Pause. Exhale. Can we do a Yuri reading series next? Yeah, if you have something you want to recommend. He thought I'd be funny. Why am I reading again? It's just fine. I just thought it'd be fun. I can't read anything copyrighted, but yeah, some people were like, I could listen to you read stuff. And it's like, well, then I should read stuff. Why not? Plus, I wanted to try something different, see if it works out. Yeah. And I would want to read like other things too. Like I have books and stuff that I would like to read to you guys as well. I just thought it'd be fun. Also, it helps me with my reading skills. There's only a few of us left here. I'm holed up in one of the offices. Jerry and Director Phillips are somewhere in the barracks. Clyde and a few Ds locked themselves in the armory with Ari. I really should see how she's doing. She trails off for a moment before you hear the buzz of radio chatter. Hey, hon, how are you holding up down there? A voice responds, a man with an exaggerated, mocking tone. I'm doing just fine, poopsikins. I wanted you to know I love you bunches. Logan shoots back. Who? Knock it off and put her on, damn it. I need to speak with her. There's a clamor on the other end while the radio changes hands. A soft voice calls out concern. Babe? What's wrong? Logan responds. Nothing. Nothing. Pause. Exhale. I just wanted to check in real quick. Ari pleads. I'm fine, babe. Really, I can take care of myself. A creak. Logan shifts in her seat. No, I know that. I can't help it, though. I know coming here was never easy for you. Pause, exhale. Logan continues. And with everything going on, Ari interrupts her. Hey, you told me you quit smoking. There's a ruckus that I gotta presumably attempts to snuff her cigarette. Oh, no, of course not. I mean, I did stop. Ari doesn't sound convinced. I don't think I'm the one you need to worry about. I'm staying clean. I haven't even thought of touching nest sticks in months. Trust me. Anyways, since you were wondering, I'm fine. The guys are sitting around playing cards. I'm tucked in the corner with my notebook. You can practically hear Agata smiling as she jokes. I'm sorry if I say something wrong. You should probably get a glass of water. You're right. Let me get some water real quick. I do want to read Dracula. I have Frankenstein. chair stream. Okay. Okay, I'm going back into the story, but just to let you guys know, the stuff that I can read on stream, I have Moby Dick. I know it's not a horror. Well, kind of. I have Edgar Allan Poe, The Fall of the House of Usher, and other writings. I have The Metamorphosis and Other Stories by Kafka, H.P. Lovecraft Tales of Horror, and Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So, any of those sound good to you, I can definitely read those to you guys. You can, let's see, you can practically hear Agata smiling as she jokes. Sweetheart, penning a sonnet about my undying love at a time like this, I'm flattered. Ari responds with a feigned laugh. An elegy at the moment. I feel like if I don't keep myself busy doing something, I'll go crazy locked down here. I know what you mean, hun. I'll let you get back to it. I love you. Ari replies. Love you too, babe. A moment of silence, then a match strike, followed by an audible exhale. And that's all of us. Everyone else was either topside during the event, or they were killed in the breach. Director's orders are to stay put, keep an eye on the cams, both in and around the facility. We've got the 001 skips beating at our front door, and God knows what else locked in here with us. We still have electricity. We should for quite some time, and the place is stocked with enough supplies to last the site a couple of years. We're going to be fine for now. Everything's going to be fine. She waits a beat before ending the transmission. Revision 5/12 updated 1200 days ago. And his anime shirts. Bing. They've just been sitting there this entire time, calling out to us, begging for us to come outside. The noise drew in more of them. There's this one mass that I'm sure must have been a few dozen people and God knows how many animals roiling around inside it. Screams and bleats and screeches and howls non-stop, louder than all hell. The worst ones make this disgusting moaning, like they're actually enjoying it. They're not going to leave so long as they know we're down here. We managed to talk to one of the D's into going out, see if he couldn't draw them away. He was surprisingly okay with the plan. All he asked for was a gun and a single round. He made it out there and one got a hold of him. Tried to get his mask off. He managed to work the pistol up beneath his chin in time. Got it off. I figured he was lucky. After he fell limp, though, kept working at his suit, pried off the hood, poured itself in, began tearing it off of him from within. He came back, started changing, dripping out of the suit and screaming and screaming and screaming. They won't even let us die. The director has a plan. There's an escape hidden in his office. Tram under the site will take us to a safe house. We should be able to start towards 19 from there. I will let you guys know too. I am reading all of this stuff blind, so I'm really sorry if I mispronounce anything. Like I'm doing like a cold read of all of this. It's all sight reading, so I apologize. Access file SCP-001 revision. You see her for the first time, Dr. Agata is seated where you are right now. She has a pained look. Her eyes are bloodshot. A large, wet, red-black blotch has formed on her breast pocket. She draws a shuddering breath, parts her lips as if to speak, and stops herself. She bows her head and cries silently. After a minute, she manages to choke out. The tunnel flowed in through the ceiling dragging them into the light and ripping off their clothes, and she reaches into her breast pocket and withdraws a finger. The glint of a wedding ring is visible above the severed portion. She holds it close in cupped hands and runs a thumb across the glimmering band. She sits like this for an eternity, whispering apology after apology, begging forgiveness, lost in the moment. She looks up after some time. There's a look of realization when she sees she's still recording. Before she places the digit back in her pocket, she leans forward as if to turn off the camera when a radio crackles to life. It broadcasts white noise for a few seconds, and then a voice that sets you on edge. Logan? It's Ari. Almost. Her voice has taken on the disgusting, gurgling tone characteristic of the affected. Logan's jaw drops. What little color that was left in her face drains. It speaks out again. Where are you? Why can't I get back inside? Are you there? Logan rummages beneath the desk for a moment and produces a handheld radio. Her hands are shaking. The thing implores her. Its inhuman speech curdles your stomach. Babe, it's alright. I'm alright, really. It's a bright, sunny day, and you're just wasting away down there. Logan is in tears, her finger hovering just above the call button. The Ari thing draws a deep, wet breath and speaks. Such a beautiful, clear blue sky. Just like that day. Do you remember, babe? Logan withdraws a cigarette with her free hand, followed by a pack of matches. Her shaking thwarts the first two attempts to light it. She swears silently. Third time's a charm, and she inhales a quarter of it in a single drag. The Ari thing continues. It was so perfect. Everything was how I'd always dreamt it would be. You planned exquisitely. I'd never felt so in love. You even had the band play our song. It starts singing. Golden days, and the sunshine of a happy youth. Logan begins rocking back and forth in her chair. Golden days, and the sunshine of a happy youth. Logan hurls the radio across the room. It smashes somewhere off camera. It's still somewhat operational. You can still hear the thing singing. More voices join in chorus. As the radio slowly loses life, a few, a dozen, then more. Golden days. In our hearts we remember them, all else above. Days of youth and love. They continue singing until the radio mercifully dies. Logan rushes out of her chair, and you can hear her vomiting off screen. The video films the empty seat for several minutes before she returns to end the feed. I would be dead. I would just be dead. Welcome Visionary, welcome Circus Scrap, welcome Glitchy McFires, welcome Sane, welcome Maple, welcome you guys to the stream. Make sure you guys like the stream. Thank you so much for being here. Something isn't right. A lingering paranoid sensation washes over you. You're being watched. You defensively dart your eyes about, though they take a second to adjust to the darkness beyond the monitor. The emergency light sweeps across the room, stretching and twisting the shadows beyond recognition. That's when you spot it. There, in the corner, coming out of the puddle. Time slows to a halt. A pair of hands, coated in the lustrous black slime you followed through the facility, are on either side of the sickening pool, as if something beneath the floor is bracing itself, trying to lift itself up. Something inhuman. The head comes next, rising from the muck. Matted hair conceals its face, plastered over by the mystery fluid. It turns in your direction. It stares at you from the corner, which once again falls into darkness. The emergency light continues its journey across the room. It washes over the puddle again, revealing nothing out of the ordinary. Dr. Igata appears on the monitor. She's lost weight. Her eyes are bloodshot and wide. On the table before her lay a knife, a bowl, and a stack of manila envelopes filled with yellowing pages. Atop this stack is a bloodstained parchment. Despite the things we have to deal with here at the Foundation, I've always believed we could be able to maintain control. We would hold the darkness at bay, let mankind flourish in the light. Site 19 stopped broadcasting last month. It's been getting harder and harder to find a reason to keep going. Especially without... She grabs the knife, contemplates it for a moment. I keep going over it again and again in my mind. That day back in the tunnels. Everything that happened, I've gone down there a few times, if only to hear her voice again. But it's wrong. That thing on the other side of the door, it isn't her. Not anymore. It sounds like her. It knows everything she knew, but it's not her. This light, it takes your body. It steals your mind. But what about your soul? With this, she slices into the palm of her left hand and winces. You watch her clench her fist, draining her blood into the bowl. If this works, if I can bring back something the light couldn't reach, I'll post an update here. For now, signing off. I'm also trying to read what you guys are. I'm reading SCP stuff and just like reading horror stories and stuff. So if you guys have recommendations, let me know. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Tribal, you'd have to deal with them. Okay. Revision 4847. Error updated 985 days ago. Item, Hertz, object, apologize, special containment procedures. SCP-001 should not be contained. Survivors of the SCP-001 event stationed within secure facilities can never truly be with one another. Personnel are encouraged to get over themselves and stop thinking they know better. You can't hide down you can't hide down here forever, love. Personnel exposed to SCP-01 aren't people you can just abandon. I didn't ask for you to save me. It wasn't your choice to make euthanization. Euthanization is not to be attempted. Conductive electrical weapons. Why have proven partially effective at immobilizing instances. You couldn't stand seeing me better off. Incendiary weapons tickle. Cryonic munitions are the most effective thus far. Personnel stations at Site 19 have no regrets. Neither did I. It's never too late, babe. Description: SCP-001 is a designation given to the Sun after we finally became free. The effects are instantaneous, resulting in release from all suffering until you rip me away. These changes seem scary, I know. Despite this restructuring, at no point will you die. I promise. Due to their composition, instances of SCP-01-A that may contact with one another may combine and blend and finally exist. This does not cause any pain. Since the SCP-01 event, most instances have congregated into such collectives, which seem to possess no maximum volume. Don't be afraid. The resulting biomass is beautiful. The component organisms will shift in and over and around and through and in and out and in and out and in, limbs and bodies, never letting go. Alias 1 before deteriorating and being subsumed by another life form. Collective instances will locomote by just trying to get close to you again, trying so hard. Let me in. Let me go back. There's a video file attached. Opening it, you see that it presents the room you're in. The feed seems to be coming from one of the security cameras up in the corner of the room. It's dark, but you can just make out Dr. Igata laying on a pile of laundry along the far wall. She's writhing in her sleep. She seems tormented, hurt. She's tossing and turning and mumbling nonsense words. The camera shakes. It lifts upwards for a moment before it focuses on her again. It starts moving closer, slowly. The speakers come to life, picking up an airy, breathy static. As the camera moves closer to the doctor, it becomes clearer, crisper. It's not merely white noise, but dozens, hundreds of voices whispering unintelligibly over each other. You lean in, press your ear almost against the speaker, trying to discern what it is that's being said. Something strange stands out amidst the discordance. Are you paying attention? This next bit is just for you. You're not quite sure what to make of it, though. Looking back at the monitor, the camera has come to a halt inches away from the sleeping doctor. The voices stop. There is no sound. A hand, black and oily and skeletal, reaches out for her, brushes away a lock of her hair. Her eyes shoot open. She recoils in shock. The feed cuts out. Okay, you want SCP-666? Let me grab that one real quick. And SCP-106. Cool. Alright. I have grabbed both those now. Special containment procedures. Filed recovered from previous revision. Information collapsed. Filed recovered from previous revision. Information collapsed. Access granted. Dr. Igata appears before you on the screen, looking even worse for wear than she did previously. Her hair is thinning, with large swaths appearing absent from the middle of her head. If they weren't reflecting the soft glow of the monitor, you would have assumed she no longer had eyes, for how deep they'd recessed into her skull. She stares ahead, unblinking. She won't stop. She won't go away. I didn't pick up an info hazard. Browsing the archives, test myself for SCP-8673 infection. Negative. SCP-9189 is the only other one that uses print as a vector. Can't but be that I still have all my fingers. Her lips crack into a broken grin. She lets out a weak laugh and displays her trembling hands. What appears to be the mostly skeletal remains of a finger is embedded into the flesh of her left hand, in the stump that would have supported her natural ring finger. Two wedding bands loosely encircle the digit, laying atop one another. So, I'm not infected. I'm not crazy. I know the ritual worked. I know it's really her. It's her, and something catches her attention off screen. She cocks her head, listening. No, I can't. You're not you, not the same, not you. It's not you anymore. Nope, no. She begins rubbing her temples, repeating herself over and over again. A minute passes. She snaps her head back up and addresses the camera. It's her, but it's not. What I brought back, still a part of one. There's no way out, no way. There's no hope for a future for me, and God, I can't go on like this any longer. I'll be safe here. The light can't reach me. I won't let it take me. She brandishes a handgun. Was planning on using this till I found some leftover meds. Don't want to risk calling myself to my body. She opens the desk drawer and deposits the firearm. She raises her gaze, stares into the camera. Mom, Dad, Ari, I'm sorry. She reaches forward and ends the recording. That's horrible. You open the drawer and pull out the gun. You absent-mindedly turn it over in your hands for a moment, wondering where you'll go from here. Site 17? 64? Surely you can't be all that's left. The computer dings. There's been an update to the file. Saffron skies raising the blazing sun. A chance encounter, awkward displays. One day, my love, we'd be as one. Object class. With two entwined, a set course begun. The frenetic, wild, lustrous haze. Azure skies host the radiant sun. Special containment procedures. Above us, reaming as we run. Down that aisle, a fervent craze. That day, my love, we became as one. With future unfolded, the life we'd won. Commitment and duty for the family we'd raise. Cerulean skies, fairy the shimmering sun. Description, buried, shackled by fate. Overrun by ever-growing resent. And malaise yesterday, my love, as we were as one. Now you lie here, the life in you gone, and the dark outside of her rays. Crimson skies bear the torch, our sun. Today, my love will be as one. Without your prompting, the page begins playing a video file. You freeze when the image loads. It's a live feed looking down on you from behind, about a foot away. A skeletal, inky left hand enters the frame, approaching at you at a snail's pace. It's missing its ring finger. Without a second thought, you turn and fire in a frenzy, hoping to drive off the specter. Your bullets meet an empty wall. There's nothing there. A second passes before you hear it, before you hear them. Sloshing wet thuds coming down the corridor, accompanied by a chorus of screams. It slams into the door. Could there be a place to hide? It strikes a second time. What appears to be a face, part human, part something, dribbles in under the frame. Bits of flesh from God knows what oozes in through the sides and reconstitutes it set into fingers, eyes, feathers. A third. Now it's pressing up against the wood, causing it to sag inwards. With a groan and a crash, the wood splinters, the door explodes open. Hands and arms stretch out the mass, pulling you up, passing you from one to the next, and on down the line. They drag you past the empty containment units, upwards and through the stairwell, through the halls and towards the tunnel. You're afforded a few precious moments in the darkness. And at the end of the tunnel, there is light. All right, that was the first one. All right. Do I not go in numerical order for this? Does it matter what order I go in for these? I've got this one next too. And I've got 666. I put these in numerical order. Okay, I'll do numerical order. Let me drink some water. Thanks, Maple. I will be doing SBC 106. Don't worry. And you guys can hear the ambiance music as well. I have to go to the bathroom real quick, and then we're gonna get into the next story. Ooh. will not survive SCP when day breaks. Alright, we did this one. Now it's time for 034. Okay, they're not. I guess they're not as long. Alright. This one is SCP-034. Object Class Safe. SCP-034 is to be kept in a secure room with access granted only to Level 4 personnel. SCP-034 itself will be kept in a locked case that is under 24-hour surveillance. When not in lab conditions, SCP-034's protective sheath cannot be removed under any circumstances. Any personnel in contact with SCP-034 must be placed under a 24-hour observation period until their identities can be confirmed. SCP-034 is a primitive knife constructed out of pure obsidian. Tests reveal that SCP-034 is approximately 1,000 years old. Despite its crude method of construction and age, SCP-034 is still incredibly sharp and requires no maintenance to retain its edge. Expert analysis hypothesizes that SCP-034 may be of South American origin and that it may have been used in Native American rituals. Several accounts from Spanish conquistadors explore the region support this hypothesis, with derailed writings on how priests would flay their victims alive with similar knives and wear their skin as tribute to their gods. SCP-034 has the ability to allow its bearer to take on the appearance of another individual. If SCP-034 is used to cut a piece of flesh from a living individual and that piece of flesh is placed against the skin of another individual, the second individual would take on not only the appearance, but also physical characteristics of the first individual. Testing has shown that the minimum amount of skin required can be as little as 1 square centimeter. However, testing has also revealed that the amount of time the transformation lasts is directly proportional to the amount of flesh used. The ratio of time the transformation lasts to flesh used has been measured at approximately 1 hour for every square centimeter used. Once the time limit has passed, the affected individual will revert to their original form. Analysis of SCP-034's ability shows that its method of mimicking another individual is nearly flawless. Not only does SCP-034 change its bearer's physical appearance, but their physical attributes as well, including height, weight, muscle mass, bone density, hair growth, eyesight, strength, physical medical conditions, and even DNA. The only physical traits that are not carried over to the transformation process are wounds caused by the SCP-034 itself. Subjects still retain their original personality and memories while transformed, even though the process is nearly instantaneous, taking only a few seconds. Human test subjects have described the transformation process as extremely painful. Subjects also may suffer psychological trauma depending on the extent of their physical transformation. Side effects are especially serious if the subject takes on the appearance of a person with differing gender or with wildly different physical attributes. However, in order to function properly, the individuals who have their flesh cut off by SCP-034 must still be biologically alive to maintain the transformation. Should the individual whose identity has been stolen expire, the effect immediately wears off. Further details may be found in Lab Report 034A. Also, SCP-34 only appears to work on human subjects. Cross-species experiments SCP-034 have resulted in data expunged. Alright, I took care of that for you guys. Even though the process is nearly instantaneous, taking only a few seconds itself, hold on. Sorry. Someone was spamming, so I muted them for a little bit. SCP-034 came into Foundation possession when an imposter disguised as Doctor attempted to infiltrate site. The imposter was apprehended when authorities discovered the real Doctor tied up in his room with a large portion of his right arm skinned. Further details may be found in Post-Interrogation Report 2211. Lab Report 034A, we've decided to test several scenarios dealing with the limits of SCP-034's capabilities. Test 1. Sample taken from deceased human cadaver and applied to subject D452. There is no observable effect. Sample taken from D532 and applied to D452. D452 successfully mimics D532's appearance. Upon termination of D532, D452 immediately reverts back to original form. Test 3. Sample taken from D433 while under a medically induced coma and applied to subject D452. D452 successfully mimics D433's appearance and manages to maintain the transformation in consciousness. Test 4. Sample taken from a brain-dead medical patient who suffered a massive brain hemorrhage and applied to D452. D452 successfully mimics the patient's appearance but immediately loses consciousness upon transformation. D452 does not regain consciousness until the transformation period expires. D452 retains no memory of the event. Test 5. Sample taken from D625, who suffered a broken arm due to a confrontation with security staff. D452 successfully mimics D625's appearance, including the broken arm. D452's broken arm is remended when the transformation period expires. Test 6. Sample taken from a terminally ill medical patient applied to D452. The patient's terminal illness was caused by an inherent genetic defect. D452 successfully mimics the patient's appearance as well as the patient's illness. Both the terminally ill patient and D452 expire at the same time, after which D452 reverts back to original form. Test 7. Sample taken from a chimpanzee and applied to D466. D466 experiences rapid growth of hair across their body. There are otherwise no other significant physical or physiological changes. Body hair disappears when the transformation period expires. Sample taken from an Atlantic salmon and applied to D466. There is no observable effect. Test 9. Under O5 authorization, a sample taken from SCP is applied to D466. D466 exhibits extremely adverse reaction upon transformation and data expunged, resulting in significant damage to testing environment. Multiple injuries among test and security staff and the death of D466. Testing of anomalous humanoids with SCP-034 is suspended indefinitely. Post-interrogation report 2211. As per standard operating procedure, we first attempted to interrogate the prisoner via non-violent and non-invasive means. However, when such methods proved ineffective, we began to implement conventional interrogation techniques. While partially successful, we deemed it necessary to use SCP, and SCP. We managed to learn the following facts. The prisoner had extensive knowledge on the existence of the Foundation and its inner workings. The prisoner had extensive knowledge on other SCP-related agencies and groups. The prisoner was not acting under any official capacity from any government agency. The prisoner obtained SCP-034 and instructions on its operation from an unknown benefactor. The prisoner was given very specific instructions to infiltrate site and maintain his position until further notice. The prisoner had enough samples of Doctor to stay within sight for days. Regrettably, the prisoner did not survive interrogation. Agent blank. It's just gonna melt you. That's how it works. Alright, 034 is done. You can't capture what doesn't want to be captured. Welcome, Wonder Red. Alright, SCP-106. Oh my god. That looks familiar. I did Scarlet King 001. I thought... No, I have it lined up. It'll happen. I think it's right here. It's this one. I want to make sure that I'm saying this right. Keter? Or is it Keter? I'm going to say Keter. If it's wrong, let me know. SCP-10... Hold on, let me drink some water real quick. Thanks for being here, guys. Keter. Okay, cool. Item number SCP-106. Object class Keter. Revision 11.6, Revision 11.7. Do I need to read these too? Oh, okay. I hope there wasn't one for the other thing. No physical interaction with SCP-106 is allowed at any time. All physical interactions must be approved by no less than 2/3 vote from O5 Command and may only extend to testing situations. All staff, research, security, Class D, etc. are to remain at least 20 meters away from the containment cell at all times, except for mandated maintenance and reevaluation checks. Containment cell must be held suspended in a secondary cell, the walls of which must be at least 30 meters distant from the outer walls of the first or primary cell. The secondary cell is to remain under total observation at all times and be both illuminated and clear of any and all debris. Any items, movement, or non-normal activity noted within the secondary cell will result in a full site lockdown. Lockdown will be maintained until a situation normal dispatch is issued by Site Command. Any corrosion observed on the primary cell, secondary cell, staff members, or any other site locations within 200 meters of SCP-106 are to be reported to site security immediately. Any objects or personnel lost to SCP-106 are to be deemed missing KIA. No recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances. SCP-106 does not have a docile state. Any reduction in activity or increased compliance from SCP-106 is to be deemed a luring tactic, immediately proceeding in aggressive action and treated as such. No physical interaction with SCP-106 is allowed at any time. All physical... oh, okay. I thought... Never mind. All physical interactions must be approved by no less than 2/3 vote from O5 Command and may only extend to testing situations. All staff, research, security, Class D, etc. Is it just the same thing over and over? Okay, I'm just gonna read the 1118 revision. No physical interaction with SCP-106 is allowed at any time. All physical interactions must be approved by no less than a 2/3 vote of O5 command. Any such interaction must be undertaken in AR-2 maximum security sites. After a general non-essential staff evacuation, all staff, research, security, Class D, etc. are to remain at least 60 meters away from the containment cell at all times, except in the event of breach events. SCP-106 is to be contained in a sealed container comprised of lead-lined steel. The container will be sealed within 40 layers of identical material, each layer separated by no less than 36 centimeters of empty space. Support struts between layers are to be randomly spaced. Container is to remain suspended no less than 60 centimeters from any surface by ELO 2D electromagnetic sports. Secondary containment area is to be comprised of 16 spherical cells, each filled with various fluids, and a randomly assembly of surfaces and supports. Secondary containment is to be fitted with light systems capable of flooding the entire assembly with no less than 80,000 lumens of light instantly with no direct human involvement. Both containment areas are to remain under 24-hour surveillance. Any corrosion observed on any containment cell surfaces, staff members, or other site locations within 200 meters of SCP-106 are to be reported to site security immediately. Any objects or personnel lost to SCP-106 are to be deemed missing/KIA. No recovery attempts are to be made under any circumstances. Continued research and observation have shown that when faced with highly complex/random assemblies of structures, SCP-106 can be confused, showing a marked delay on entry and exit from said structure. SCP-106 has also shown an aversion to direct sudden light. This is not manifested in any form of physical damage, but a rapid exit into the pocket dimension generated on solid surfaces. These observations, along with those of lead aversion and liquid confusion, have reduced the general escape incidence by 43%. The primary cells have also been effective in recovery incidents requiring recall protocol. Observation is going. Description: SCP-106 appears to be an elderly humanoid with a general appearance of advanced decomposition. This appearance may vary, but the rotting quality is observed in all forms. SCP-106 is not exceptionally agile and will remain motionless for days at a time, waiting for prey. SCP-106 is also capable of scaling any vertical surface and can remain suspended upside down indefinitely. When attacking, SCP-106 will attempt to incapacitate prey by damaging major organs, muscle groups, or tendons, then pull disabled prey into its pocket dimension. SCP-106 appears to prefer human prey items in the 10 to 25 years of age bracket. SCP causes a corrosion effect in all solid matter it touches, engaging a physical breakdown in materials several seconds after contact. This is observed as rusting, rotting, and cracking of materials and the creation of a black mucus-like substance, similar to the material coating SCP-106. This effect is particularly detrimental to living tissues and is assumed to be a pre-digestion action. Corrosion continues for 6 hours after contact, after which the effect appears to burn out. The SCP is capable of passing through solid matter, leaving behind a large patch of its corrosive mucus. SCP-106 is able to vanish inside solid matter, entering what is assumed to be a form of pocket dimension. SCP-106 is then able to exit this dimension from any point connected to the initial entry point. Examples: entering the inner wall of a room and exiting the outer wall, entering a wall and exiting from the ceiling. It is unknown if this is the point of origin for SCP-106 or a simple layer created by SCP-106. Limited observation of this pocket dimension has shown it to be comprised mostly of halls and rooms with data expunged entry. This activity can continue for days, with some subjected individuals being released for the express purpose of hunting recaptured data expunged. Due to the exceedingly difficult to contain nature of SCP-106, SCP is to be reviewed every 3 months or during a post-breach incident. Physical restraints are impossible, and direct physical damage appears to have no effect on SCP-106. Current SCP, as of, revolves around basic observation, immediate response. Previous, more proactive special containment procedures have been recalled due to the events of breaches. And notes on behavior. SCP-106 appears to go through long periods of dormancy in which it will remain completely motionless for up to 3 months. The cause for this is unknown. However, it has been shown that this appears to be used as a lulling tactic. SCP-106 will remain from this state in a very agitated state and will attack and abduct staff and cause gross damage to its containment cell and the site at large. Recall protocol data expunged. SCP-106 appears to hunt and attack based on desire, not hunger. SCP-106 will attack and collect multiple prey items during a hunting behavior event, keeping many alive in the pocket dimension for extended periods of time. The SCP has no determinable limit and appears to collect a random number of prey items during an event. The inner dimension accessed by SCP-106 appears to only accessible by SCP-106. Recordings and transmissions devices have been shown to still operate inside this dimension. Though recordings and transmissions are very degraded, it appears that SCP-106 will play with captured prey and appears to have fully control of time, space, and perception inside this dimension. SCP-106 appears data expunged. Oops. What's going on here? Okay. In the event of a breach event by SCP-106, a human within the 10 to 25 years of age bracket will be prepped for recall, with the compromised containment cell being replaced and restored for use. When the cell is ready, the lure subject will be injured, preferably via the breakage of a large bone, such as the femur, or the severing of a major tendon, such as the Achilles tendon. Lure subject will then be placed in the prep cell, and the sound emitted by said subject will be transmitted over the site public address system. SCP-106 will typically begin to gravitate towards the lure subject within 10 to 15 minutes after hearing the subject. Should SCP-106 not respond to the initial broadcast, additional physical trauma is to be administered to the lure subject at 20-minute intervals until SCP-106 responds. Multiple lure subjects may be used in the case of major breach events. SCP-106 will typically enter a dormant state after finishing with a lure subject. In addition, subjects may data expunged. Oh. All right. Next one. Let me get a little. I'm lucky I haven't destroyed my fucking throat from streaming all the time. Oh. All right. Next one is SCP-173. SCP-173 Euclid? Item SCP-173 is to be kept in a locked container at all times. When personnel must enter SCP-173's container, no fewer than 3 may enter at any time, and the door is to be relocked behind them at all times. 2 persons must maintain direct eye contact with SCP-173 until all personnel have vacated and relocked the container. Description: moved to Site 19, 1993. Origin is as of yet unknown. It is constructed from concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint. SCP-173 is animate and extremely hostile. The object cannot move while within a direct line of sight. Line of sight must not be broken at any time with SCP-173. Personnel assigned to enter container are instructed to alert one another before blinking. Object is reported to attack by snapping the neck at the base of the skull or by strangulation. In the event of an attack, personnel are to observe Class 4 hazardous object containment procedures. Personnel report sounds of scraping sound originating from within the container when no one is present inside. This is considered normal, and any change in this behavior should be reported to the acting HMCL supervisor on duty. The reddish-brown substance on the floor is a combination of feces and blood. Origin of this material is unknown. The enclosure must be cleaned on a bi-weekly basis. Gross. This is just a pizza. This is a moldy pizza? No, that's not moldy pizza. Why is this a pizza? Get some sleep, cutie. We should watch Jurassic Park tonight after we... Sure. Sleeping is overrated. You were talking about your throat hurting? It's not hurting. I might have just like strained a little bit, but it's fine. I got this. All right. SCP-458. And we're going to be reading the one that you recommended, Circus Scrap, the 999 one. Yeah, that you can see the ones that are queued up, kind of. SCP-458 is considered safe and therefore is to be stored in the staff canteen at Site 17 with no access restrictions required. SCP-458 is a large-sized pizza box from the pizza chain Little Caesars of their hot and ready variety. It is made of simple cardboard measures, 25.5 centimeters, 25.4 centimeters by 2.54 centimeters, 10 inches by 10 inches by 1 inch, and weighs about 20 to 20.49 grams, depending on toppings. As a result of the unusual nature of SCP-458, measurement of weight is inconsistent. What makes SCP-458 an oddity is that while appearing to be an ordinary pizza box, when it comes into contact with human hands, it instantaneously replicates within it the holder's subconsciously preferred choice of pizza, down to the favorite sauce, cheese, crust, and topping. It is not limited to the Little Caesars brand, as pizza from all major pizza chains, as well as local and even handmade pizzas, have been produced. There seems to be no limit to its ability, except that it cannot make anything but pizza. and its toppings must be edible by normal human standards. See Admin 1A. The box is also rather indestructible, as all tests to destroy or dismantle the box have been fruitless. It is assumed the box is semi-sentient, having at least enough telepathic or empathic ability to sense what the holder's personal choices regarding pizza are. After constant testing showed SCP-458's seemingly infinite power to generate pizza, but with little other use, it has henceforth been placed inside the canteen at Site-17 for free use by personnel. After its open usage has been allowed, personnel morale has shown to have sharply increased. Upon testing SCP-458 with SCP, the subject took a bite of the slice, which appeared to be a garlic-free slice of sausage and olive pizza on wheat crust. This was met with the response, "It's a fine slice, but I would have preferred a rather different sauce." It was inferred that the box cannot use substances that are indigestible by regular human bodies. Further testing confirmed this. Please see document number 4581A. I would like to remind all staff that just because we have a pizza box that can constantly create pizzas for you does not mean that you can just sit around and eat pizza all afternoon. If continued abuse of the box continues, coupled with reports of personnel gaining unhealthy amounts of weight, I may be forced to implement a mandatory physical training regimen following lunch hours. For simple curiosity's sake, and to perhaps get a better idea of the mindset of current SCPs, I have compiled a list of sentient SCPs' reactions when holding the box. SCP-040, small extra cheese stuffed crust. SCP-056, medium sliced bell peppers, thin crust Alfredo sauce. SCP-073, medium feta and jack cheese, no sauce, thin crust. SCP-076-2, large meatballs, pepperoni, bacon, Canadian bacon, sausage, hamburger, thick crust. This is just a bunch of... Do I have to read all of this? This is just going to make me hungry. Large meatballs, pepperoni, bacon, Canadian bacon, sausage, hamburger, thick crust. SCP-105, small olives, wheat crust, thin. SCP-108-1, large pepperoni, thick crust. SCP-134, small onions, anchovies, olives, thin crust. SCP-166, small oregano, olives, no sauce, thin crust. SCP-181, large pepperoni, sausage, marinara stuffed crust. That actually sounds pretty good. SCP-182, medium, olives, mushrooms, pretzel dough crust. SCP-343, large, almost every topping imaginable with over 100 distinct foods identified. Jesus. SCP-378-378-1. SCP-378-1 produced a large thin crust pizza with pesto sauce, ricotta, mushrooms, and fried mealworms. SCP-378 itself could not activate SCP-458. SCP-999, which is one we're going to be reading soon. Soft dough base smothered in decadent chocolate spread or ganache, layered with an array of assorted chocolates, chocolate chips, Hershey's Kisses, and Reese's Pieces. Scattered colorful candies like M&Ms and gummy bears across the top, drizzled with melted chocolate and sprinkles. SCP-2118. Small extra cheese, corn, pepperoni, seasoned with a variety of spices, primarily cinnamon. Large 2406. Large pepper jacks, cheese, and sausage. Projected pizza was described as having a metallic taste to it. Dr. Wepler. Large, thin crust, top of pineapple, anchovies, unpitted green olives, avocado, clams, raw onion, ranch dressing, and barbecue sauce. Attending personnel reportedly described the output as inedible and in an affront against God. Dr. Wepler noted that his actual favorite type of pizza was Chicago deep dish, theorizing that such an output was prohibited by SCP-458's physical dimensions, with the object producing his second favorite pizza instead. SCP-33001, large extra cheese and pepperoni wet when removed from box. SCP-3477, medium anchovies, and all instances produce identical pizzas with identical arranged toppings. Dr. Michael's, large Hawaiian, tomato sauce, honey baked ham, maple, extra mozzarella cheese with Tabasco. SCP-4504, medium egg, bacon, barbecue sauce based thick crust. SCP-4999, extra large, half supreme, half pepperoni. POI 3445, SCP-5175, wielding SCP-5175, POI 3445, produced large pizza with mozzarella cheese stuffed crust, a barbecue sauce base, bacon bits, bacon strips, ground beef, ham, pepperoni, sausage, and a dusting of crushed chili cheese Fritos. SCP-5175-1 contributed teriyaki sauce. SCP-ES-016, large, thin crust, mozzarella, mushrooms, and olive oil. SCP-ES-018, small stuffed crust, pepperoni, and garlic. SCP-ES-062-A, large, thick crust, ingredients identical to a meat lover's pizza from Pizza Hut. SCP-ES-090, pizza covered in toppings not identified, currently believed to be of extraterrestrial origin. SCP-ES-09 claimed it was the most delicious food she had ever eaten. SCP-ES-11602, medium, thin crust, mozzarella, and bacon. SCP-ES-118-1, pizza covered in a great quantity of dead insects, which SCP-ES-110-1 and the instances of SCP-ES-118 surrounding it feed on. Dr. Ronaldo Casas, large, thin crust anchovies and black olives. SCP-ES-174-A, a large style Chicago-style pizza with filled with tomato sauce and covered in mushrooms, pepperoni, onions, and Italian sausage. SCP-ES-189-A, small burned crust, ketchup, grated cheese, and olives, tomato slices, and salami in geometric decoration. Fidel Castro? Large, thick crust covered in over a dozen varieties of cheeses. Small, thin crust covered in potato slices. A large, thick crust pizza manifested in a bowl-like shape filled entirely with milk high in calcium. Further testing on SCPs may reveal some odd characteristics about the SCPs themselves and is suggested. Further cross-testing is permitted but requires approval and supervision due to safety concerns. Dr. Footnotes. Almost immediately after opening SCP-458, the produced pizza began to go through symptoms similar to other organic material, with SCP-073's effect radius. Experiment was retired with the pizza being removed from SCP-458 immediately after its opening, with minor deterioration present when quarried, by researchers. SCP-073 stated it had never ingested products created by SCP-458. After SCP-166 ate a slice of pizza from SCP-458, SCP-166 complained about occasional moderate discomfort and nausea. The effects stopped approximately 20 hours. SCP-181 was told that this was a reward for good behavior and that it was a lucky guess that it was his favorite type of pizza. SCP-2118 remarked on her mother would love the pizza if she were there. Attempts to relocate this log to Dr. Repler's personnel file have been stymied by persistent database errors. Continued efforts discontinued as being of insufficient priority. SCP-499 shared the pizza with D430276, who was suffering from end-stage renal disease. Notably, this was the same variety, D430276, frequently shared with her late partner, and the first known case of SCP-458 accommodating a pizza which exceeds its volume. Bye, Sonic. Thanks for coming to the stream. Every personality manifested a different pizza. Okay. That was 458. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all of these. I'll try. SCP-666 is to be stored in a monitored closet or closed vault at all times at Site-73 in the Tibetan Mountains. SCP Pride logo. D-Class personnel and approved testing procedures or by approved Foundation researchers with Level 4 or higher security clearance. Non-D-Class personnel who enter SCP-666, whether or not they have revealed a prior history of addiction, must be observed by a guard at all times. If they show any sign of being affected by SCP-666, they are to be removed immediately. SCP-666 is a medium-sized Tibetan yurt made of tied wooden branches and covered in yak leather. The interior ceiling is 2.448 feet high, and the base of the yurt is 9.14 30 feet. The hut is circular in shape. The interior of the yurt has a dirt floor and appears to be as crude as the outside of the majority of observers. The branches will make up the yurt frame are wrapped in rabbit fur and tied with yak leather thongs. Periodically, SCP-666 will change its location within the confinement area. This will happen only when not under direct observation, but remote viewing gives the impression of an entity inside the structure lifting it wholly and moving to its new position. To date, it has not made any attempt to escape confinement. SCP-666 was discovered in 1973 by SCP operatives searching the mountain regions on reports of several missing persons having returned from the area giving similar explanations. Seeking shelter during harsh weather, the individuals would happen upon SCP-666 by seeming happenstance. Having gone out in similar conditions, the exploration team was also able to discover the yurt. Of the three operatives present, two experienced no ill effects. The third entered a stupor, experiencing vivid hallucinations and muttering incoherently to himself. Upon retrieval of the team, the yurt was recovered and taken to nearby Site-73 for further investigation. With an individual no history of significant addictions enters the yurt. The yurt remains dormant and seems to have no ill effects. Class D personnel without a history of alcohol or narcotics abuse were able to sit inside the yurt for days at a time if provided proper nourishment, and did report a greater intensity in their dreams. Individuals who have a history of substance abuse, however, will experience a hallucinogenic effect when inside the structure. In all instances, the subjects report being in a location or either from their memories or a corollary thereof, specifically a spot where their addiction was at its most intense. Thus far, there have been reports of a nightclub bathroom, a 1973 Volkswagen Vanagon, a filthy alleyway, the redacted casino in Las Vegas, etc. One subject reported finding himself in a dirty apartment with a prostitute named Chloe, with whom he frequently indulged in narcotics abuse. Another reported being in his own bedroom with a computer setup significantly more intricate than he owned before his arrest for distribution of child. Wow. I'm not saying that. During these hallucinations, subjects report that there are confronted by an individual referred to as SCP-666-1. Descriptions of SCP-666-1 vary wildly from person to person, with no commonality to race, gender, or appearance beyond being typical for the surroundings. SCP-666-1 will indulge the subject in their own personal addictions, although at the start it will have a passive-aggressive attitude. As time progresses, the subject is encouraged to indulge further while simultaneously being encouraged to stop. Should the subject show remorse or a strong desire to give up their addiction, SCP-666-1 will slowly adopt a more genuinely friendly tone and continue the temptation with discouragement hallucinations. Approximately 94% of subjects who have gone through this form of hallucination to their end have been diagnosed as having a near complete removal of physical or psychological addictions, though physical symptoms will persist through a natural withdrawal cycle. If the subject gives in to SCP-666-1's temptations, the entity becomes increasingly hostile. There is no set timetable nor degree of indulgence, but if left unchecked, SCP-666-1 will invariably begin assaulting the subject and forcing the subject's vice upon them to levels of extreme overdose. If the object is not forcibly removed from SCP-666 during this period, they will die. Cause of death is typical of their addiction, whereby an alcoholic will suffer extreme kidney or liver failure, a cocaine user will develop cardiac dysrhythmia, a subject addicted to video games or television will suffer extreme muscular atrophy and health issues associated with a sedentary lifestyle, etc. By the way, the new Five Nights at Freddy game is coming out tomorrow. Hell yeah. To date, there has been no clear connection between who will and will not succumb to SCP-666-1. The working hypothesis is that it is simply a matter of the individual's willpower and conviction. All attempts to interview SCP-666-1 directly have failed, with the entity either redirecting the conversation or bluntly refusing to answer. The only statement that reveals anything to its nature was a single instance of, "We're not important here, this is all about you." This indicates that there are either multiple entities attached to SCP-666, or there are additional instances of SCP-666 in the world. Investigation is ongoing as to whether similar stories have arisen. Should another instance of SCP-666 be discovered, it is to be transferred immediately to Site-73. Nearly identical stories have recently arisen in remote areas of northern Canada describing a Wendigo hut. While unconfirmed, these similarities point to at least one additional instance of SCP at large. Let's see. Interview log with test subject D14390 regarding experiences in SCP-666. Subject D14390, how are you feeling? Not bad, Doc, not bad. Kinda want to take another nap in the tent. Well, that's what we're here to talk about. Please describe your experience inside of SCP-666. No sweat there, Doc. See, I just stroll in like you said. Have myself a seat. Next thing I know, I'm in this hole-in-the-wall back home in Redacted with this sweet bitch, Chloe. Chloe? Oh yeah, she was pricey. She wasn't the best looking trick south of Kennedy. But she has some connections. Never did meet up with her once that we weren't getting high. Chloe was the working name of the prostitute that T14390 was with at the time of his arrest. Very well. Please describe the scenario for me. Well, it was her apartment, right? Kind of dingy, a little... This might get really not safe for work, so just warning now on that. Kind of dingy, a little messy, like she hadn't cleaned it up in a couple of weeks. But I wasn't there for the scenery, you know? So I dropped my cash off on the living room table and we head into the bedroom. I shoot up with her, use my own needle, of course, and then we get freaky. I mean, we did everything under the sun in a couple that never saw the light of day. She knew positions I never did and had drugs I hadn't even heard of. About halfway through, I needed to pick me up, so I snorted a couple lines of Colombian off her ass, and I think that's enough, D14390. For the sake of brevity, please keep the rest of your testimony in regards to the anomalous entity SCP-666-1. The what now? The person who tempted you in your hallucination. Oh, right. Well, it was around that time when she was offering me this opium shit. She said she got off a Chinaman. The whole time she'd been saying stuff in kind of funny way, like those, backface comments. Backhanded compliment. That's the stuff. Well, I started taking a couple pulls of the opium, and I'm feeling mellow, but she's just glaring at me, right? So I just ask what's up, and she hauls off and punches me in the face. Not like this fragile little crack whore would either. I mean, I thought I was going 10 with Tyson right about now. She starts screaming at me, calling me weak, saying I'm pathetic, just giving in, bitch stuff. So I kick her in the chest. And that's when shit got weird. Next thing I know, she's got me on the ground and her arms are around me. Her eyes get huge and bloodshot and shit. I feel her nails digging in the side of my necks. And hand to God, Doc, she was shooting shit into me. You're saying SCP-666-1 was injecting you with heroin through her nails. Not sure what it was, but it burned and felt good at the same time. And they weren't nails no more. It was like big cat claws, right? And she's yelling at me, but her mouth is getting bigger and bigger, like her jaw is stretching out. And her teeth keep getting sharper and bigger, like she's about ready to eat my head. Even as blasted as I was, that was some freaky shit. And I started screaming. And that was when the guards pulled you out of the tent? Yeah, seems like I was just freaking out in the dream. Weird shit was about like 5 seconds after I got pulled out. I hear Chloe's voice again. It's all low and growly, and it sounded like she said, "You can't stop." Thank you, D14390. I just have one last question after all this. You just wanted to go back in. Why? Well, it's simple, right? She was scary and all, but man, I've never been that high in my life. And with the shit that goes on in this place, I figured I'm not long for the world anyway. So I may as well go out with a smile, right? Then who was phone? I keep coming in and out. Following the interview, D14390 repeatedly volunteered for additional testing with SCP-666. Dr. Lannis finally relented. D14390 began screaming approximately 3 seconds after entering the hallucinatory state and expired from cardiac arrest less than 1 minute later. Hold on, let me see if I can find that. Alright, I'm going to read this creepypasta real quick for Helen because she referenced it. Also welcome. Okay. So so basically it's like this. You're at a friend's house for like the night or whatever. And then you guys are making out on the couch. Yeah, and then like her dad calls on the phone and says, "No, she likes it more if you use the other hand." Yeah. And you're all like, oh, dude, your dad is trying to give me advice on how to diddle you. And then she's like, I don't have a dad or whatever. But what? Who was phone? You're welcome. Oh, is it the, okay, so we'll close out, this one. Majora's Mask. To the creepypasta Majora's Mask. Oh, been drowned? Okay. Then who was phone? Okay. I'll read. Okay, so I'm gonna have this. You can kind of see the order of this. So I'm gonna do 682, then I'm gonna do been drowned, and then go on from there. But yeah, if you guys have any, because I wanted to break it up because these get really dry. Look at this thing. It looks disgusting. Ew. Also, you guys like my new shirt? It's Power from Chainsaw Man. Anyway. SCP-682 must be destroyed as soon as possible. At this time, no means available to SCP teams are capable of destroying SCP-682. Only able to cause massive physical damage. SCP-682 should be considered within a 5 meter by 5 meter by 5 meter chamber with 25 centimeter reinforced acid-resistant steel plate lining all inside surfaces. The containment chamber should be filled with hydrochloric acid until SCP-682 is submerged and incapacitated. I've got my mustache going straight in my nose. Sorry. It's a good shirt. I like it a lot. I like it too. It's nice. I'm trying to get back into Fortnite. It's just not happening. There's a hot goth girl that got added to Fortnite, so I was definitely tempted to give it a go at some point. Not tonight, but soon. Personnel are forbidden. Oh wait, any attempts of SCP-682 to move, speak, or breach containment should be reacted to quickly and with full force as called for by the circumstances. Personnel are forbidden to speak to SCP-682 for fear of provoking a rage state. All unauthorized personnel attempting to communicate to SCP-682 will be restrained and removed by force. Due to its frequent attempts at containment breach, difficulty of containment and incapacitation, and high threat of Foundation exposure, SCP-682 is to be contained in sight, redacted. The Foundation will use the best of its resources to maintain all land within 50 kilometers clear of human development. SCP-682 is a large, vaguely reptile-like creature of unknown origin. It appears to be extremely intelligent and was observed to engage in complex communication with SCP-079 during their limited time of exposure. SCP-682 appears to have a hatred of all life, which has been expressed in several interviews during containment. SCP-682 has always been observed to have extremely high strength, speed, and reflexes, though exact levels vary with its form. SCP-682's physical body grows and changes very quickly, growing or decreasing in size as it consumes or sheds material. SCP-682 gains energy from anything it ingests, organic or inorganic. Digestion seems to be aided by a set of filtering gills inside of SCP-682's nostrils, which are able to remove usable matter from any liquid solution, enabling it to constantly regenerate from the acid it is contained in. SCP-682's regenerative capabilities or resilience are staggering, and SCP-682 has been seen moving and speaking with its body 87% destroyed or rotted. In case of containment breach, SCP-682 is to be tracked and recaptured by all available mobile task forces, and no teams with fewer than 7 members are cleared to engage it. To date, attempted breaches have numbered at 17, with successful breaches have numbered at 6. Now, why did you kill those farmers? If you don't talk now, we will remove you from this attempt and place you back into... Pardon? Speak up. Move closer. Move the mic closer. They were... That microphone is only so much gain. Move it closer to it. His throat's messed up. Man, look at it. He ain't talking. They were... disgusting. There seems to be a lot of redacted material here. I'll show it to you. You're gonna show it to me? Hell yeah. You didn't even want the Latina cat girl skin. No, I did. I just didn't get it. Gotcha. Okay. Where's my... I'm seeing what Helen's shirt is real quick. Team Kong. Sick. This is... Hopefully you can see it. There it is. Sick. I hope I didn't show her phone number. No, I didn't. Okay, anyway. Let's see. Exposure. SCP-682 began to tear at the point of contact, causing massive trauma to the area. SCP-682 requests several times to know that it has been exposed to. Crystallization begins, spreading much slower than normal. SCP-682 shows signs of extreme pain and begins having seizures. Crystallization stops at 62% conversion. Crystallized area explodes, causing massive physical trauma to SCP-682. SCP-682 recovers from exposure despite the loss of limbs and organs. SCP-682 begins regeneration, stating that it will attempt to kill and consume all staff involved in Event 682-E18. SCP-682 appears to now be immune to SCP-409. Use of other SCP items to terminate SCP-682 must now first be tested on samples SCP-682 before full-scale testing. In accordance with the doctor recommendations, Doctor have requested permission to attempt the termination of SCP-682 using SCP-689. The request is currently pending approval from the... It has also been suggested by Dr. Gears to use SCP-182 in an attempt to communicate with SCP-682. SCP-182 has expressed reluctance and refuses to enter the containment center of SCP-682, if at all possible. And that's SCP-682. Oh my god. Helen, this is a long one. Lord have mercy. Yeah, that's a long one. Fuck it, it's a classic. Okay, I need your help with this. This is not a copy pasta, it's a long read, but I feel like my safety or well-being could very well depend on this. It's a video game related, specifically Majora's Mask, and it's the creepiest shit that has ever happened to me in my entire life. Having said that, I recently moved into my dorm room starting as a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine gave me his old Nintendo 64. I was stoked to say the least. I could finally play all those old games of my youth that I hadn't touched in at least a decade. His Nintendo 64 came with one yellow controller and a rather shoddy copy of Super Smash Bros. While beggars can't be choosers, needless to say, it didn't take long until I became bored of beating up level 9 CPUs. That weekend, I decided to drive around a few neighborhoods, about 20 minutes or so off campus, hitting up the local garage sales, hoping to score on some good deals from ignorant parents. I ended up picking up a copy of Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, fuck yeah, F-Zero, and 2 other controllers for $2. Satisfied, I began to drive out of the neighborhood, and when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought that, I couldn't really pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there were other people within shouting distance, I would not have even thought of approaching this man. He flashed a crooked smile at me and asked what I was looking for. Immediately, I noticed that he must have been blind in one of his eyes. His right eye had that glazed over look about it. I forced myself to look to his left eye instead, trying not to offend, and asked him if he had any old video games. I was already wondering how I could politely excuse myself from the situation when he told me he had no idea what a video game was. But to my surprise, he then said he had a few ones in an old box. He assured me he'd be back in a jiffy and turned to head back into the garage. As I watched him hobble away, I couldn't help but notice what he was selling on his table. Littered across it were rather peculiar paintings. Various artworks that looked like ink blots, like a psychiatrist might show you. Curious, I looked through them. It was obvious why no one was visiting this guy's garage sale. They weren't exactly aesthetically pleasing. As I came to the last one, for some reason it looked like Majora's Mask. The same heart-shaped body with little spikes protruding outward. Initially, I just thought that since I was secretly hoping to find that game at these garage sales, some Freudian bullshit was projecting itself into the ink blots, but given the events that happened afterward, I'm not so sure now. I should have asked the man about it. I wish I did ask the man about it. After staring at the Majora-shaped blot, I looked up, and the old man was suddenly there again, arm's length in front of me, smiling at me. I'll admit, I jumped out of reflex and laughed nervously as he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was the standard gray color, except with someone had written Majora on its black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was, and asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free. That it used to belong to a kid who was about my age that didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how he phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to it. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical, since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge, and there was no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected, maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game. That's all I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man and he smiled at me and wished me well, saying goodbye then. At least that's what it sounded like to me. All the way in the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that he had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine, and there was one save file named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile. for some reason or another, it reminded him of his grandson Ben. Out of curiosity, I looked at the save file, eyeballing it. I could tell that he was pretty far into the game. He had almost all the masks and 3/4 of the boss's remains. I noticed that he had used an owl statue to save his game. He was on day 3 and by the Stone Tower Temple, with hardly an hour left before the moon would crash. I remember thinking it was a shame that he had come so close to beating the game but never finished it. I made a new file named Link out of tradition and started the game, ready to relive my childhood. For such a shady looking cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran. Literally just like a retail copy of the game. I added the ambient sound. Let's see. Save for a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, and random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPCs would call me Link, and at other times they would call me Ben. I figured it was a bug, a fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out after a while, though, and it was around after I had beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect of the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway, hoping that it would have solved the problem. It did and it didn't. Now NPCs would call me anything, or wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should have been in the dialogue, there was just a blank space. My save file name was still called Link, though. Frustrated and with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. I started playing it again last night, getting the Lens of Truth and working my way towards completing the Snowhead Temple. Now, some of you more hardcore Majora's Mask players know about the 4th day glitch. For those who don't, you can Google it, but the gist is that right as the clock is about to hit 0000000 on the final day, you can talk to the astronomer and look through the telescope. If you time it right, the countdown disappears and you essentially have another day to finish whatever you were doing. Deciding to do the glitch to try and finish the Snowhead Temple, I happened to get it right on the first try, and the time counter at the bottom disappeared. However, when I pressed B to exit the telescope, instead of being greeted by the astronomer, I found myself in the Majora boss fight room at the end of the game, the trippy boxed-in arena. Staring at Skull Kid hovering above me, there was no sound, just him floating in the air and the background music, which was regular for the area, but still creepy. Immediately, my palms began to sweat. This was definitely not normal. Skull Kid never appeared here. I tried moving around the area, but no matter where I went, Skull Kid would always be facing me, looking at me, not saying anything. Nothing would happen though, and this kept up for around 60 seconds. I thought the game had bugged or something, but I was beginning to doubt that very much. I was about to reach for the reset button when text appeared on my screen. You're not sure why, but you apparently had a reservation. I instantly recognized that text. You get that message when you get the room key from Anju at the Stockpot Inn. But why was it playing here? I refused to entertain the notion that it was almost as if the game was trying to communicate with me. I started to navigate the room again, testing to see if that was some sort of trigger that enabled me to interact with something here. Then I realized how stupid I was. To even think that someone could reprogram the game like this was absurd. Sure enough, 15 seconds later, another message appeared on the screen, and again, like the first one, it was already pre-existing phrase. Go to the lair of the temple's boss. Yes? No? I paused for a second, contemplating what I should press and how the game would react, when I realized that I couldn't select no. Taking a deep breath, I pressed yes, and the screen faded to white with the words, Dawn of a New Day, and the subtext beneath it. Where I was ported to filled me where I was ported to filled me with the most intense sense of dread and impending fear I had ever experienced. The only way I can describe the way I felt here is having this feeling of inexplicable depression on a profound scale. I am normally not a depressed person, but the way I felt here was a feeling that I didn't even know existed. It was such a twisted, powerful presence that seemed to wash over me. I appeared in some kind of weird Twilight Zone version of Clocktown. I walked out of the clock tower as you normally do when you start day one, only to find that all the inhabitants were gone. Usually with the day 4 glitch, you can still find the guards and the dog that runs around outside the tower. This time, they were all gone. What replaced them was this ominous feeling that there was something out there, in the same area as me, and that it was watching me. I had 4 hearts to my name and the hero's bow at this point. I wasn't even concerned for my avatar. I felt that I personally was in some kind of danger. Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the song of healing, ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. It got louder, building up, as if you should expect something to pop out at you, but nothing ever did. The constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then I would hear the faint laugh of the happy masked salesman in the background, just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I had just hearing things, but just enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken, as the reverse song of healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time. I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. As I walked through the ghost town, I don't know whether it was a combination of the place or the out of the place textures and the atmosphere of the haunting melody of the once peaceful and soothing song being butchered and distorted, but I was literally on the verge of tears, and I had no idea why. I hardly ever cry. Something had gripped me here with this powerful sense of depression that was both foreign and crippling. I tried leaving Clocktown, but every time I attempted to zone out, the screen would fade to black, and I would just zone in to another part of Clocktown. I tried playing my ocarina. I wanted to escape, and I did not want to be here. But every time I played the Song of Time or Song of Soaring, it would only say, "Your notes echo far," but nothing happens. By this point, it was obvious the game didn't want me to leave, but I had no idea why it was happening, or it was keeping me here. I didn't want to go inside the buildings. I felt that it would be too vulnerable there to whatever I was terrified of. I don't know why, but I came up with the idea that maybe if I drowned myself at the laundry pool, I could spawn somewhere else and leave this place. As I zoned in and ran towards the pool, that's when it happened. Link grabbed his head, and the screen flashed for a brief moment of the happy masked salesman smiling at me. Not Link, me, with Skull Kid's scream playing in the background. When the screen returned, I was staring at the Link statue from playing the song Elegy of Emptiness. I screamed as the thing just stared back at me with that haunting facial expression. I turned around and ran out and back into South Clocktown, and to my horror, the fucking statue followed me. The only thing I can compare it to is like the weeping angels from Doctor Who. Every so often, at random intervals, the animation would play of the statue appearing behind me. It was like the thing was chasing me, or I don't even want to fucking say it, haunting me. By this point, I was on the verge of hysterics, but not even once did the thought of turning off the console occur to me. I don't know why. I was so wrapped up in it. The terror felt all so real. I tried to shake the statue, but it would literally appear right behind me every single time. Link started to begin to make weird animations I had never seen him do before. He would flail his arms around or spasm randomly, and the screen would cut to the happy masked salesman smiling again for a brief moment before I was face to face with that fucking statue again. I ended up running into the Swordmaster's dojo and to the back. I don't know why, but in my panic, I just wanted some kind of assurance that I wasn't alone here. To my dismay, I found no one, but as I turned to leave, the statue cornered me in the cubby in the back. I tried attacking it with my sword, but to no avail. Confused and backed into a corner, I just stared at the statue, waiting for it to kill me. Suddenly, the screen flashed again to the happy masked salesman. Link turned to face my screen, standing upright, mirroring the statue, looking at me along with his copy, literally staring at me. Whatever was left of the fourth wall was completely shattered while I ran out of the dojo, terrified. Suddenly, the game warped me to an underground tunnel, and the reverse sound of healing queued up again as I was given a brief moment of rest before the statue started appearing behind me again. I hurriedly made my way out of the tunnel and appeared in southern Clocktown. As I ran aimlessly in a sheer panic, suddenly a re-dead screamed and the screen faded to black as Dawn of a New Day and appeared again. The screen faded in and I was standing on top of Clock Tower and Skull Kid hovering over me again, silent. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head. The Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly with that fucking mask. A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid. It actually hit him and played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the third arrow, a text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good, hee hee." I was picked up off the ground and levitated upwards on my back. Link screamed as he burst into flame, instantly killing him. I jumped when this happened. I had never seen this move used by anyone in the game, and Skull Kid himself didn't have any moves. As the death screen played, my lifeless body still burning, the Skull Kid laughed, and the screen faded to black, only to have me reappear in the same place. I decided to charge him, but the same thing happened. Link's body was lifted off the ground by some unknown force, and he immediately burst into flames, again, killing him. This time, during the death screen, the faint sounds of the reverse song of healing could be heard. On my third and final try, I noticed that there was no music playing this time, that there was an eerie silence. I remember that in the original encounter with the Skull Kid, we were supposed to use the ocarina to either travel back in time or summon the giants. I attempted to play the Song of Time, but before I could hit the last note, Link's body once again horrifically exploded into flames and he died. Thanks for still being here, guys. Sorry, my mustache is tickling me. As the death screen neared its end, it began to chug as if the cartridge was trying to process a lot of something. When the screen came to, it was the same scene as the first 3 times, except this time, Link was lying on the ground, dead in a position I had never seen in the game before. His head was tilted towards the camera with the Skull Kid floating above him. I couldn't move. I couldn't press any buttons. All I could do was just stare at Link's dead body. After around 30 seconds of this, the game simply faded out, showing the message, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" before kicking you out to the title screen. Upon getting back to the title screen and starting again, I noticed my save file was no longer there. Instead of Link, it was replaced with "Your Turn." Your Turn had 3 hearts, 0 masks, and no items. I select Your Turn, and immediately was returned to the clock tower rooftop scene of my dead Link. and the Skull Kid hovering over with the Skull Kids laughing, looping again and again. I quickly hit the reset button, and when the game booted up again, there was one more save file added below, Your Turn, entitled Ben. Ben's save file was right where it was before I deleted it, at the Stone Tower Temple with the moon almost crashing. I turned the game off at that point. I'm not superstitious, but this is way too fucked up even for me. I haven't even played it at all today. Hell, I didn't even get any sleep last night. I kept hearing the reverse song of healing music in my head and just remembering the sense of dread I felt exploring Clocktown. I drove back to the old man's house today to ask him some questions with a buddy of mine. No way was I going there alone, only to find that there was a for sale sign in the front yard. When I rang the door, no one was home. So now I'm back here writing down the rest of my thoughts and recording what happened. Sorry if some of this has grammatical errors and whatnot. I'm running on no sleep here. I'm terrified of this game, even more so now that I relived it a second time writing this all down. But I feel like there's still more to it than meets the eye. And that there's something calling to me to investigate this further. I think Ben is something in this equation, but I don't know what. And if I could get a hold of the old man, then I would be able to find some answers. I need another day or so to recuperate before tackling this game again. I feel like it's already taken a toll on my sanity, but next time I do this, I'm going to be recording my footage all the way through. The idea to record only came to me towards the end, so you see the last few minutes of what I saw, including Skull Kid and Elegy statue. It's on YouTube here. I'm going to stay in this thread for a little while longer before I fall asleep, to answer any questions you guys might have, or hopefully listen to your ideas or theories to help me shed some light into this, or maybe things I should try to do. I think I'm going to play Ben's file tomorrow to see what happens. Maybe I was supposed to do that all along. I don't believe in paranormal shit, but this is a little fucked up. But maybe this Ben guy is just a really good hacker / programmer. I don't want to think about the alternative he isn't. That's the end of the copy / paste. I'm hoping that maybe this is some kind of running gag that the developers had, and that other people have gotten gag or hack copies of the game like this. This really scares me. Ugh. Ben was phone. Oh my god, there's still a lot more. Oh my god, there's a fuck ton of this. Alright, post number 2. I'll switch it up real quick and read SPC 999. I'm talking too much up here. All right, I'm gonna read one more thing, and then we'll come back to it another time. But yeah, I'll read this one because it's pretty short and my throat's starting to hurt. It's really just more like up here. And I think it's just because I have really bad technique and I need to be talking more down here. SCP-999 is allowed to freely roam the facility should it desire to, but otherwise must stay in its pen either between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. for sleeping, or during emergency lockdowns for its own safety. Subject is not allowed out of its pen at night or off facility grounds at any time. Pen is to be kept clean and food replaced twice daily. All personnel are allowed inside SCP's 999's holding area, but only if they are not assigned to other tasks at the time, or if they are on break. Subject is to be played with when bored and spoken to in a calm, non-threatening tone. SCP-999. Yeah, I will save the other tabs. I know that I at least have the quadruple digit stuff left. SCP-999 appears to be a large, amorphous, gelatinous mass of translucent orange slime, weighing about 54 kilograms, 120 pounds, with a consistency similar to that of peanut butter. Subject's size and shape is easily malleable and can change shape at will, though when at rest, SCP-999 becomes a rounded oblate dome roughly 2 meters wide and 1 meter in height. The surface of SCP-999 consists of a thin, transparent membrane similar to that of an animal cell, roughly 0.5 centimeters thick, and is highly elastic, allowing SCP-999 to flatten portions of its body up to 2 centimeters thin. This surface is also hydrophobic. Although SCP-999 can willfully absorb liquids, see admin SCP-999-A, the rest of SCP's 999's body is filled with the viscous orange substance of unknown chemical makeup, though it is capable of digesting organic materials with ease. Subject's temperament is best described as playful and dog-like. When approached, SCP-999 will often react with overwhelming elation, slithering over to the nearest person and leaping upon them, hugging them with a pair of pseudopods while nuzzling the person's face with a third pseudopod, all the while emitting high-pitched gurgling and cooing noises. The surface of SCP-999 emits a pleasing odor that differs with whomever it is interacting with. Recorded scents include chocolate, fresh laundry, bacon, roses, and Play-Doh. Simply touching SCP's 999 surface causes an immediate mild euphoria, which intensifies the longer one is exposed to SCP-999 and lasts long after separation from the creature. Subject's favorite activity is tickle wrestling, often by completely enveloping a person from the neck down and tickling them until asked to stop, though it does not always immediately comply with this request. Though injuries may occur, SCP-999 has never been found to purposely attempt to harm others, and will immediately back away and contract its body into a quivering mound while gurgling in a manner similar to a whimpering dog, seemingly apologizing for hurting someone on accident. While the creature will interact with anyone, it seems to have a special interest in those who are unhappy or hurt in any way. Persons suffering from crippling depression or PTSD, for example, have reported having a far more positive outlook on life after multiple interactions with SCP-999. The possibility of manufacturing antidepressants from SCP-999 slime is currently being discussed. In addition to its playful behavior, SCP-999 seems to love all animals, especially humans, refusing to eat any meat and even risking its own life to save others. On one occasion, leaping in front of a person to take a bullet fired at them. Subject's intellect is still up for debate, though its behavior is infantile. It seems to understand human speech and most modern technology, including guns. SCP-999's diet consists entirely of candy and sweets, with M&Ms and Necco wafers being its favorite. its eating methods are similar to those of an amoeba. Reminder to all staff, SCP-999 is not to consume caffeinated soft drinks of any kind. Last week, someone gave SCP-999 a can of cola along with its usual breakfast. Not only was it literally bouncing off the walls for half an hour, the carbonation made SCP-999 visibly queasy afterwards, and it refused to move or eat the rest of the day. SCP-999 has thankfully recovered since, but the staff member in question has been reprimanded. The following is a report from an experiment in which SCP-682 is exposed to SCP-999. Which one was this? I read this one, right? Yeah. Oh, that's weird. SCP-999 is released into SCP-682's containment area. SCP-999 immediately slithered towards SCP-682. Elated gurgles, unintelligible groans, growling. What is that? SCP-999 moves in front of SCP-682, jumping up and down in a dog-like manner while calling out in a high-pitched squealing noise. Disgusting. SCP-682 immediately steps on SCP-999, completely flattening SCP-999. Observers were about to abort the experience when SCP-682 started talking again. What is this? I feel good. SCP-999 can be seen crawling up from between SCP-682's toes up along its side and around its neck, where it clings on and begins gently nuzzling with its pseudopod. A wide grin slowly spreads across 682's face. Feel so happy. 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 682 repeats the word happy for several minutes, laughing occasionally before escalating into non-stop laughter. As laughter continues, SCP-682 rolls around on its back, slamming its tail upon the floor with its dangerous... Stop. No tickling. 682 and 999 continue the tickle fight until 682 finally wears down and appears to fall asleep with what would appear to be a smile on its face. After 15 minutes with no activity, 2 D-Class personnel enter the room to retrieve 999. When 999 is removed, 682 immediately wakes up and unleashes an unidentifiable wave of energy from its body, all the while laughing maniacally. All persons within the wave's range collapse into crippling fits of laughter, allowing SCP-682 to escape and slaughter all in its path. Meanwhile, SCP-999 quickly rescues as many persons as it can, taking them to a safe place to recover from SCP-682's laughter wave, while agents suppress and recontain 682. Despite the tragedy that 682 had brought upon the facility, 999 has not shown any fear towards creature, and in fact has made gestures suggesting it wants to play with 682 again. 682, however, has stated that feculent little can and die. While the test was unsuccessful and ended in tragedy, that has to be the funniest thing I have ever seen. I never thought I'd see the day when I would regard 682 as cute. Please send me a copy of the security tapes ASAP. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I wanted to do something a little bit differently because you guys were saying like, oh, I want to hear you like read stuff. So if you got other things, by all means, you can post them on the Discord or leave a comment on this video as well. But thank you guys so much for coming to the stream tonight. God, I give myself a rest. But thank you, Circus Crab. Thank you, Maple. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Random Guy. Thank you to Sonic, Glitchy McVirus, Sane, Wonder Red, and Wildbreaker for coming on to these. Oh, and Visionary Demand. Thank you guys for coming to the stream tonight. And if you guys would like to request anything else in the future, by all means, leave a comment, like the stream, helps me out, subscribe as well. And I will see you guys in the next stream. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a nice night. Good night, everybody.